The void beyond Mars was quiet, a silence so deep that even the alien fleet felt its weight. Hundreds of warships glided in formation, their hulls glowing faintly under the red reflection of the planet. To the Galactic Council, this was nothing more than routine. Earth was weak, a fragile world full of fragile creatures. It would fall quickly, and its blue oceans would soon fly the banners of conquest. Inside the command deck of the alien flagship, Admiral Zyrek stood tall, his scaled hands folded behind his back. Around him, officers whispered with smug confidence. "Earth has no true fleet," one said. "Their ships are small, their weapons old. By the time their people even realize we are here, it will be over." Another officer chuckled, tapping on a display where Earth spun slowly, far in the distance. "A single volley will silence them. Humanity is a child race. They never belonged among the stars." The laughter spread, echoing through the bridge. They had crushed stronger civilizations, burned worlds older than Earth, and faced armies with technology far greater. To them, this was a hunt, and the prey had no claws. But in the silence of space, something moved. The first sign was small, barely noticeable. A faint pulse on the sensors, like static carried by solar wind. A junior officer frowned, his mandibles twitching. "Admiral, something unusual beyond Mars's shadow." His words were brushed aside with a wave of the claw. "A dust storm," another officer laughed. "This system is full of strange signals." Yet the static grew louder. Flickers danced across the monitors, ghostly shadows shifting where there should be nothing. The Admiral narrowed his eyes. "Expand the scan," he ordered sharply. The display widened. Mars rotated slowly beneath them, its deserts bathed in the cold light of the sun. But behind the planet's curve, where the dark side touched the void, the shadows grew deeper. The static became rhythmic, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then came the silence. Every console on the flagship froze for a breath, as though the void itself held its breath. The officers looked around in confusion, claws moving over controls that no longer responded. The junior officer's voice cracked with fear. "Admiral, I count over 300 contacts. Unknown, surrounding us." The bridge erupted in panic. "How?" shouted one commander. "There is nothing in this system. Nothing but Mars and that cursed blue rock." The Admiral stared at the readings. The shapes were massive, larger than any council vessel. They were not moving like asteroids, not drifting like debris. They were forming a wall around his fleet. And then the shadows lit up. From behind Mars, steel giants emerged. Colossal warships, black as night and scarred by battles long past, slid into view. Their hulls reflected faint light like blades drawn from a sheath. One by one, their engines flared, red and blue fire glowing in the darkness. Dozens became hundreds. They had been there all along, hidden, waiting. The alien fleet fell silent. Not a word, not a laugh remained. The human fleet had arrived. On Earth, the world watched in secret. Hidden command centers deep under mountains came alive with alarms. Generals and soldiers stared at the feeds, seeing the alien fleet trapped beyond Mars. Humanity's silence was finally broken. "They came," a general whispered, "and they found us waiting." Back aboard the alien flagship, Admiral Zyrek felt his chest tighten. The prey he had mocked now stood before him, their claws sharper than any predator he had ever faced. He looked at his officers, their faces pale with fear. The static on the sensors was no malfunction. It was the heartbeat of a fleet awakening. "Admiral," one of his officers whispered, voice trembling. They were never weak. They were never prey. The human fleet locked into formation. Their weapons glowed, thousands of cannons turning as one, aiming directly at the invaders. In the vast silence of space, a single transmission cut through every channel. A human voice, cold and steady, carried across the void. "You crossed Mars. You threatened Earth. You should not have come." The Admiral froze. His officers stared at him, waiting for orders. But no order came. His mind raced with a single dreadful thought. This was not a fleet rising in panic. This was a fleet that had been prepared. For years, maybe centuries, they had waited for this exact moment. The alien fleet, proud and vast, was surrounded. The hunter had stepped into the jaws of something far greater. The human transmission ended, and the silence returned. But this silence was heavier, sharper, filled with promise, the promise of fire. And as the dreadnought at the center of the Terran fleet powered its main cannon, Admiral Zyrek realized the truth with a shiver that reached his very bones. The Council had not chosen prey. They had chosen humanity. The Terran flagship fires its engines, locking weapons on the alien admiral's command ship. The void beyond Mars pulsed with light as the Terran fleet revealed itself. What had begun as faint shadows now became an endless wall of steel. Warships, each one the size of a city, emerged in perfect formation. Their black hulls bore scars from battles long forgotten, but their engines burned with fresh power. They moved with discipline, not the hesitant shuffle of a fleet scrambling for defense, but with the cold precision of predators encircling their prey. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zyrek gripped the railing so hard his claws scraped the metal. His officers scrambled, their voices cracking in disbelief. "How can this be?" one shouted. "Humanity was supposed to have nothing but patrol craft." Another officer hissed, his frilled crest rising in fear. This is not possible." "These ships, they outnumber us. They outsize us." Zyrek forced his voice to remain steady. "Calm yourselves. Their size means nothing if their weapons are weak." He ordered scans, but the results only deepened the fear. Each Terran dreadnought carried weapons arrays equal to 5 alien cruisers combined. Shield readings showed a density that no Council fleet could match. And the flagship, massive, silent, crouched like a beast waiting to strike, was unlike anything the aliens had ever catalogued. The Terran fleet did not advance. It simply stood there, engines glowing faintly, their cannons locked on the alien invaders. The silence was worse than an attack. It was as if humanity was giving them one final chance to leave. "Admiral," a young officer whispered, his voice trembling, "we are surrounded." "They mean to wipe us out," Zyrek snarled, refusing to show fear. "Then we will strike first. They are bluffing. They must be bluffing." But deep inside he knew the truth. Humanity was not bluffing. Beyond Mars, Terran comms crackled to life across the alien channels. Every ship received the same message, translated into every known galactic tongue. The voice was female, calm and sharp. "This is the Terran Defense Fleet. You have crossed into restricted space. You will turn back immediately, or you will disappear beyond Mars, as others before you." The bridge froze. "Others before you." The words echoed like a ghost. Had there been other fleets? Other armadas that never returned? The aliens looked at their admiral, but for once he had no answer. The Terran wall shifted, revealing even more ships hidden in Mars's shadow. Massive carriers extended their wings, releasing swarms of sleek fighters that glided into the void. Their engines left trails of light, weaving patterns that looked less like patrols and more like traps. For every alien cruiser, there were 3 Terran warbirds waiting, their guns primed. Zyrek barked orders. "Raise shields! Prepare weapons! Show these humans the strength of the Council!" The alien fleet obeyed, engines roaring as plasma cannons charged. The void filled with the hum of war, both sides poised on the edge of fire. But then, something unexpected happened. A massive Terran flagship drifted forward, slow and deliberate, its hull dwarfing everything around it. As it moved, Earth came into view behind it, a glowing blue jewel in the darkness. The sight struck the aliens harder than any weapon. That tiny world, mocked as fragile, stood shielded by a fortress of steel. On Earth, command centers erupted in controlled chaos. Generals and soldiers watched as the alien fleet made its move. Every Terran cannon was locked and ready, every missile bay armed. Yet the humans did not fire first. They waited, letting the aliens choose their fate. On the alien bridge, tension thickened like smoke. Officers shouted readings, shields at full. "Weapons hot. Targets locked." Admiral Zyrek stared at the Terran flagship as its cannons glowed faintly. He realized with dawning horror that the humans weren't preparing to fire. They were waiting for him to fire first, so history would mark the aliens as the aggressors. He hesitated, That hesitation cost him. The Terran flagship's engines roared, shaking the void. Its cannons aligned, locking directly onto his command ship. One officer screamed, "They're targeting us!" Directly at us. For the first time, Zyrek felt fear claw at his chest. This wasn't a bluff. Humanity had built this fleet for a single purpose, to end invaders who dared cross Mars. The female voice returned, colder now. "You have one chance. Turn back, or you will not return at all." The bridge went silent. Every officer turned to their admiral, waiting for his decision. Fight or flee, Zyrek's jaw tightened. Pride battled with survival. His fleet was vast, but the wall before him was impenetrable. He thought of the words again, "Others before you." What had happened to those fleets? The answer was all around him, in the silence, in the steel, in the shadows beyond Mars. Admiral Zyrek gives the order to fire, and the void explodes with light as the first volleys streak toward the Terran wall. The void beyond Mars erupted in light. Alien cannons fired first, streaks of plasma tearing across the darkness like green lightning. The alien fleet roared forward, proud warships belching fire, their admirals shouting with the confidence of hunters certain of victory. On the flagship, Admiral Zyrek bared his fangs. Crush them. Show these earthborn prey what true fleets can do. The alien volleys struck, but instead of chaos, the humans answered with silence. The plasma bolts broke against invisible walls, shattering into harmless sparks that lit the hulls of the Terran ships. The alien officers froze as their scanners reported the impossible. Terran shields absorbing impact levels no technology should endure. Then the humans fired. From the line of dreadnoughts came a single crack of light, no thunder, no fanfare, just a beam so focused it sliced through space itself. The alien fleet's forward squadron vanished, 10 ships cut apart as if they were made of glass. The beam left behind only drifting wreckage, glowing red where steel had been melted in an instant. Silence swept the alien bridge. Impossible, an officer whispered. One ship, one shot. But the humans weren't finished. Across the Terran wall, weapons flared to life. Missile pods opened, launching swarms of projectiles that darted through the void like hunting birds. Alien point defense systems tried to lock on, but the missiles danced away, weaving patterns too fast to track. The first impacts tore through shields, the second gutted engines, and the third detonated within the alien ships themselves. Explosions lit the void as cruisers died screaming, their fire visible even from Earth's surface. Inside hidden bunkers, human soldiers and generals watched the battle unfold, their faces grim but steady. "Hold formation," a general ordered. "Don't break the wall. Let them bleed themselves dry." This was not desperation. This was execution. Humanity had been waiting for this moment, building their weapons in silence, hiding their fleets in shadows. On the alien flagship, chaos broke loose. "Our flanks are collapsing. We've lost the 7th line. Shields failing." Zyrek roared for order, but his voice cracked under the weight of disbelief. Every tactic he had trained for, every formation he had mastered, meant nothing. These humans fought like predators who had already studied their prey. A dreadnought at the center of the Terran fleet moved forward. Its cannons pulsed once, then unleashed a wave of fire. The beam carved through the alien admiral's right flank, erasing an entire squadron in less than a heartbeat. Screams filled the alien comms as crews begged for orders, their voices fading into static as their ships tore apart. For the first time, Zyrek felt dread sink deep into his bones. Humanity had not just matched the Council's technology, they had surpassed it. And they were using it with the calm precision of killers who knew exactly where to strike. On the alien bridge, officers whispered in panic. "We can't win. We can't stop them." Another looked at his admiral, eyes wide with fear. "Sir, this wasn't a battle. It was a trap." The admiral's jaw tightened as realization dawned. The humans hadn't been defending Earth. They had been waiting here, beyond Mars, for fleets like his. "Others before you." The words echoed again. Perhaps fleets greater than his had already come. and none had returned. Then came the human transmission. The same female voice as before, calm, steady, but colder now. You crossed the red planet. You dared to aim at Earth. You have fired the first shot. Now you will pay the price. The Terran fleet shifted. Engines roared, weapons aligned. Fighters screamed into formation like a cloud of steel hawks. Humanity had shown restraint long enough. Now they would strike without mercy. On Earth, across cities and command centers, people held their breath as the fleet advanced. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. Children watched glowing skies, and old veterans whispered, "This is the moment. They will finally learn who we are." The alien fleet, once proud and unshakable, now felt the weight of fear. Their admiral barked orders, desperate to rally them. "Fight! Hold the line! They cannot break us!" But even as he shouted, his own flagship shook under the first direct Terran volley. Consoles sparked, officers fell, and the deck trembled like a dying beast. The Terran flagship's main cannon powered up again, its glow flooding the void. The aliens watched helplessly as its massive barrel locked directly onto Admiral Zirek's command ship. For the first time, silence filled the alien admiral's chest. Not silence of calm, but silence of despair. The Terran flagship fires its second beam, aimed directly at the alien admiral's bridge. The blast from the Terran flagship tore across the void, like a star being born. The alien command ship shook violently, its shields ripping apart in a wave of fire. Consoles exploded, officers were thrown from their stations, and Admiral Zirek gripped the railing with all his strength as the deck tilted beneath him. For a heartbeat, he thought the flagship itself would break in half. But somehow the hull held, barely. Smoke filled the bridge. The admiral stared at the view ahead, his eyes wide with disbelief. The alien fleet, once proud and unstoppable, was collapsing. Ships scattered in panic, formations broken. Dozens of cruisers burned silently in the void, their wreckage drifting toward Mars like broken bones in the dark. Terran warships pressed forward with relentless precision, carving apart squadrons one by one. It was not a battle, it was a slaughter. And far away in the shining chamber of the Galactic Council, the most powerful leaders of the galaxy watched in horror. The chamber was a grand dome filled with light, where thousands of species debated war and peace. The walls were lined with holoscreens, now broadcasting live footage of the Mars battle. Aliens of every kind, scaled, feathered, furred, and armored, watched the human fleet advance with growing fear. Counselors who had once laughed at Earth now sat frozen in silence. They had mocked humanity as fragile, weak, and unworthy of the stars. They had approved the invasion without hesitation, confident it would be over in a single strike. And yet, before their eyes, their mighty armada was being destroyed by a species they had dismissed as children. One counselor slammed his claws against the table. This is impossible. How did humanity build such a fleet in secret? His voice shook with fear. An elder, older than most in the chamber, leaned forward, his voice low. Not in secret, in silence. Humanity did not boast, did not reveal. They prepared quietly for this very moment. Another counselor hissed, his wings trembling. They could not have developed such power alone. Someone must have given it to them. Who among us betrayed the council? His accusations sparked murmurs across the chamber, but no one could answer. The hollow screens flickered, switching views. They showed Earth, glowing blue and white, shielded by its steel wall of Terran warships. They showed the alien fleet breaking, their ships burning as they fled into the void. And then the screens showed something none of them expected. A human appeared. It was a woman standing tall on the bridge of the Terran flagship. She wore a dark uniform, the insignia of Earth gleaming on her chest. Her eyes were sharp, her voice steady as it echoed through the chamber, translated into every tongue. This is the Terran Defense Fleet. You chose war. You fired first. You called us prey. Now you see the truth. We are not prey. We are predators. And this is your only warning. The chamber erupted into chaos. Councillors shouted, some demanding immediate reinforcements, others crying for peace talks before it was too late. The leader of the avian coalition screeched, "If we let them win, the balance of power will collapse." Humanity will rise above us all. Another voice thundered back. They already have. But the screens silenced them all again. The Terran fleet advanced, engines blazing, weapons ready. Behind the human envoy, Earth rotated slowly, calm and untouched, its oceans glittering like jewels. The image was more powerful than any threat. Earth had become the center of fear. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zyrek coughed smoke, his officers shouting around him. Reports screamed across the comms. Entire wings destroyed. We cannot retreat. Every exit is blocked. They are herding us, forcing us where they want. The Admiral's claws shook as he realized the truth. This wasn't chaos. It was a plan. Humanity had studied their tactics, built their fleets, and hidden them in the shadows, waiting. This battle had been over before it even began, and in the council chamber, the elder who had spoken earlier finally stood, his voice breaking the chaos. You laugh at humanity. You mock them. But tell me, where are the fleets we sent before? Where are the armadas that vanished near Mars? The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. The answer was written in the void, in the wreckage burning beyond Mars, in the fleets that had already disappeared. Humanity had erased them. The Terran envoy leans closer to the camera and speaks one final sentence. Leave Earth or vanish beyond Mars. The signal cuts, leaving the council in stunned silence. The red planet glowed like a burning ember, its thin atmosphere catching the light of countless explosions. The void around Mars had become a graveyard. Alien wreckage drifted silently, broken hulls tumbling into the cold dark. Yet the battle was not over. The alien fleet, bloodied but not broken, regrouped near Mars's orbit. Desperation hardened their resolve. They would not return to the council in shame. Admiral Zyrek barked orders, his voice hoarse but sharp. Form a wall around Mars. Force them into close combat. Their cannons cannot track at short range. His officers scrambled to obey, their claws dancing over controls, forcing damaged ships into position. Plasma cannons roared again, filling space with wildfire. For the first time since the engagement began, the aliens struck back with fury, determined to bleed humanity for every wound. The Terran fleet responded with silence. No panic, no broken formations, only cold precision. On the dark side of Mars, hatches opened across hidden facilities carved into the rock. Massive launch tubes released swarms of Terran drop pods, black capsules streaking like meteors into the void. They slammed against alien hulls, attaching with magnetic claws. With a hiss of steam, their doors burst open, and human soldiers poured out. Clad in black armor, rifles glowing faintly under their visors, Terran Marines moved with lethal purpose. They cut through corridors, their boots pounding against alien steel. Every shot was precise, every movement rehearsed. Entire alien crews surrendered without firing a shot, the sight of human soldiers striking fear deeper than cannon fire. From his flagship, Zyrek's eyes widened in horror as reports flooded in. Boarding parties, they're everywhere. Entire wings gone silent. He slammed a claw against the console, fury boiling inside him. Kill them, seal the decks. Humanity will not take our ships. But the orders came too late. Terran banners flickered on alien command decks, raised by human hands as more ships fell one by one. Above the battlefield, Terran dreadnoughts advanced. Their cannons rained fire across Mars' orbit, cutting through alien squadrons like blades through flesh. Yet what unsettled the aliens most was the silence of their enemy. No taunts, no broadcasts of pride, only methodical destruction, as if humanity saw this war not as glory, but as necessity. On Earth, billions watched through hidden channels. Families huddled in shelters, eyes locked on screens as the feed showed Terran Marines storming alien vessels. Children whispered questions, and parents gave no answers. In underground command centers, generals stood grim-faced, tracking every move. One murmured, "They are learning. The aliens will never forget this day." The alien fleet tried to retreat, engines flaring as they attempted to flee past Mars. But every path was blocked. Terran ships filled the exits, a steel cage tightening with each passing moment. Then came the moment that shattered the aliens' last hope. The Terran flagship surged forward, its hull dwarfing everything else around it. Its main cannon charged, the glow building like a star being born. Alien scanners screamed warnings, predicting destruction on a scale they could not survive. Zirek's claws trembled on the railing as the realization struck. This weapon was not built to cripple fleets. It was built to erase them. "Admiral!" one officer shouted. "We cannot escape! They've trapped us! Every direction leads to death!" Zirek's crest flared, his voice a mix of fury and despair. "Then we fight until our last breath. Better to burn in battle than vanish in silence." But as the words left his mouth, an eerie hush fell across the comms. Dozens of ships, entire alien squadrons, had gone dark, their signals blinking out all at once. No explosions, no debris, just silence. It was as if they had been erased. The bridge crew turned pale, fear rippling through them like a plague. "Admiral," one whispered, "they aren't just destroying us. They are making us disappear." Zirek's heart pounded. He remembered the words of the Terran envoy, "Others before you." Was this what had happened? Armadas erased without a trace, their wreckage swallowed by whatever weapon humanity had unleashed? The void trembled as the Terran flagship's cannon reached full charge. Its glow bathed Mars, its light reflecting off the dust storms raging across the surface. The alien fleet braced for the end, and then, just as the weapon fired, the battle feeds to the Galactic Council cut out. Screens across the chamber went black. Leaders screamed in confusion, demanding answers, but the silence stretched, heavy and merciless. Only one line of text flickered across the Council's holoscreens, translated in every language: "Leave Earth or vanish beyond Mars." The alien flagship shuddered, its hull groaning like a dying beast. Alarms wailed across the decks as officers scrambled at their stations, their eyes wide with terror. Admiral Zirek gripped the railing, his scaled hands trembling as he stared at the screens. His fleet, the proud armada of the Galactic Council, was fading. One by one, entire squadrons vanished from sensors. No explosions, no wreckage, just silence. "Admiral," a bridge officer shouted, his voice breaking, "ship readings gone dark. 40 vessels lost in under a minute." Another voice followed, shrill and panicked. "They didn't burn, they didn't drift. They just disappeared." The void beyond Mars, once filled with fire and chaos, now seemed eerily calm. Alien ships blinked out like candles snuffed in the dark, their hulls dissolving into nothing as Terran cannons pulsed with silent fury. It was not destruction, it was erasure. Zirek's crest flared in defiance. "Find the source, show me how they are doing this." His officers scrambled, but every scan ended the same way: static, interference, unreadable data. Humanity's weapons were cloaked in secrecy, their methods hidden. Whatever they had unleashed was beyond the Council's understanding. On Earth, in deep command bunkers carved under mountains, generals watched with grim satisfaction. One leaned forward, whispering, "The blackout array works. They will never return home." Another nodded, his jaw set. "It is not enough to win battles. We must erase the invaders so the Council never dares to come again." Above Mars, Terran dreadnoughts glowed with power. Their engines pulsed in unison, their formations tightening like a steel fist. Missiles streaked into the void, guided by precision systems. Alien ships that tried to retreat were caught instantly, swallowed by beams that seemed to rip them from existence. Inside the Council chamber, panic grew. The holoscreens had come back online, but what they showed was worse than silence. Councillors watched their fleets vanish in real time, their faces pale, their voices cracking. "They are gone, entire legions gone." This This cannot be real. The humans are using forbidden weapons. An elder slammed his hand against the table. Fools, did I not warn you? Humanity was silent for a reason. They were waiting. You thought they were weak, but all along they were building this. The chamber fell silent again as a chilling truth settled over them. If humanity could erase fleets, then the Council was no longer the galaxy's master. Humanity was. Back in orbit, Admiral Zyrek fought to steady his voice. His bridge crew trembled around him, their eyes glued to consoles showing more ships winking out. "Admiral," one whispered, "this is not war. This is execution." Zyrek's claws dug into the railing until the metal bent beneath them. He forced his voice to remain strong. "If they mean to erase us, then let us carve scars they will never forget. All ships, charge every weapon. Target Earth itself if you must. Humanity will bleed before we vanish." But even as he gave the order, the Terran flagship moved. Its massive cannon turned, its glow brighter than a star. The alien crew froze as sensors confirmed the target, not Earth, not Mars. His ship. The beam fired. The void split apart as Zyrek's flagship was engulfed in light. The Admiral's last thought was not of victory, but of regret, that his arrogance had led his fleet into the jaws of predators. When the light faded, the flagship was gone. No wreckage, no drifting survivors, just silence. The remaining alien ships screamed for retreat, their engines flaring in panic. But wherever they turned, Terran fleets blocked the way. Mars became a prison, and the stars became walls. From Earth, the female voice returned, calm and sharp. "This is your fate. You came beyond Mars and you will not return." The alien fleet realized then that the prophecy whispered in council halls was true. Humanity was not a child race. Humanity was the predator at the heart of the stars. As the last alien ships fade into the void, counselors across the galaxy whisper in fear. The humans are not just defending Earth, they are erasing history itself. The void beyond Mars was silent now, but not with peace. It was the silence of fear, the silence of erasure. Where a mighty alien armada had once filled the skies, there was nothing left but drifting wreckage and a scattering of terrified survivors. Those who remained stared into the darkness, their senses useless, their minds reeling with disbelief. Entire wings of their fleet had been swallowed without a trace. On one crippled alien destroyer, officers huddled together, their voices trembling. "We cannot return," one whispered. "Even if we try, there will be nothing to take back. They've destroyed the fleet, and us with it." Another officer shook his head, his eyes filled with despair. "Not destroyed, erased. No one will know we ever stood here." And yet humanity knew. In command, bunkers deep beneath Earth's crust, Terran generals reviewed the aftermath. Holoscreens projected the vanishing of the alien fleet in cold detail. One general leaned forward, his voice like stone. "The blackout array has done its job. They will not send reports. They will not warn the others. Mars will remain our silent graveyard." Another officer nodded slowly. "The galaxy will only whisper. They will never know the full truth unless we reveal it." In orbit, the Terran flagship drifted forward, its cannons cooling, its engines burning steady blue. On its bridge stood the envoy who had spoken to the council before. She watched the last alien ships falter, caught between surrender and silence. Her voice rang out across every surviving comm channel, cold and sharp. "You wanted to see Earth broken. Instead, you have seen humanity's hand unveiled. For centuries, you called us weak. You laughed while we were silent. But silence is not weakness. Silence is preparation." Her words carried across the void, reaching not only the alien survivors, but secret listeners hidden across the galaxy. Traders, spies, and scattered scouts relayed the broadcast, spreading it like fire. The truth was out. Humanity had not been passive. Humanity had been watching, building, preparing. Beneath oceans, within mountains, and in the shadow of Mars, they had forged fleets not meant for exploration, but for war. Generations had trained in silence, their skills sharpened for the day the Council finally came. On the Council's homeworld, the chamber shook with uproar. Delegates shouted, some furious, others terrified. "This cannot be! Humanity was monitored!" How did they hide this? Who allowed them to grow unchecked? Panic laced every voice, but behind the fear was something deeper: respect. For the first time in galactic history, the Council had underestimated a species so completely that the entire balance of power now shifted. The elder councillor, his scales dulled with age, spoke softly above the noise. "You all mocked them. You all believed Earth a fragile world. But do you not see? A death world breeds survivors, and survivors breed soldiers. Humanity is not rising. Humanity has already risen. Back at Mars, the surviving alien ships finally made their choice. They opened their channels begging for mercy, offering to surrender their weapons, their ships, even their lives. But the Terran envoy only shook her head. "No, you do not decide the terms. You crossed the red line. You threatened Earth. And now you will vanish beyond Mars like those before you." The Terran fleets moved with mechanical precision. Dreadnoughts flared, fighters screamed through the void, and missiles swarmed. One by one, the remaining ships blinked out, swallowed by beams of impossible power. The void fell quiet again, as though the aliens had never come at all. On Earth, crowds filled the streets, their eyes fixed on the sky and the screens above them. They had seen the truth. They had seen humanity's power. Children who once feared the Council now whispered of fleets and soldiers, of shadows beyond Mars. Pride swelled across the planet. Not arrogance, but a cold, certain pride that they were no longer victims. They were guardians. The envoy turned from the window of her flagship, her voice steady as she addressed her crew. "The galaxy believes us prey no longer. They know now who we are, and they will know what we will do to protect Earth." Her words echoed across the stars, carried in whispers, in fear and in awe. Humanity's revelation was complete. In the Council chamber, a trembling advisor asked the question none dare answer. If this is only their defense fleet, then what else have they been hiding? The Galactic Council chamber had never been so silent. The Great Dome, where thousands of species once shouted over each other with pride and arrogance, now felt like a tomb. The hollow screens still flickered with the last transmissions from Mars orbit, Terran warships blotting out the stars, alien fleets vanishing without wreckage. Every delegate stared, their faces pale, their eyes wide. Humanity, the species they had mocked for centuries, had erased their armada. One avian councillor's wings twitched nervously. We must retaliate," he croaked, though his voice betrayed his fear. "If we show weakness, humanity will rise above us all." His words were met not with support, but with whispers of doubt. Another councillor, scaled and trembling, hissed, "Retaliate with what? Our fleets are gone. Our admirals erased. We no longer face a prey species. We face a predator that has been waiting for us." The elder rose, his voice steady but grim. "Do you not see? This was their message all along. Mars was their line. They were patient, silent, building in the shadows. And when we crossed it, they answered with finality. This is not conquest. This is warning." At that moment, every hollow screen flickered. Static filled the chamber before resolving into the face of the Terran envoy. She stood aboard her flagship, Earth glowing in the distance behind her, the wall of Terran dreadnoughts stretching like steel mountains at her back. Her eyes were calm, her voice unshaken. "You sent your fleets against us," she said, her words echoing in every language across the chamber. "You thought Earth fragile, humanity weak. And now your fleets are gone. Mars was your choice, and Mars was your grave." Gasps rippled through the delegates, but the envoy continued, her tone cold and merciless. "We do not seek your worlds. We do not hunger for conquest. But we will not kneel. If you cross beyond Mars again, if you bring war to Earth's skies, you will vanish as they did. Not defeated, not remembered, erased." Her eyes hardened. "This is your only warning. The transmission cut, leaving the chamber in suffocating silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The images of Earth, shielded by fleets that could erase armadas, burned into every mind. Humanity had drawn its line, and the galaxy trembled. Back in the void beyond Mars, the Terran fleets turned slowly, their engines burning like stars. They did not pursue. They did not boast. They simply returned to formation, an endless wall of warships guarding their homeworld. To the galaxy, it was not a retreat. It was a statement. Earth was untouchable. On Earth itself, people filled the streets, staring at the skies with pride and awe. They had always known they were underestimated. Now the galaxy knew too. Soldiers marched back into their cities, banners unfurled, children pointing at the glowing orbits where the fleets moved like guardians. Humanity had revealed its truth, silent strength, hidden power, and the will to fight when pushed too far. But in the council chambers, unease spread like a disease. Delegates whispered of fleets that never returned, of hidden human technologies they still could not understand. When finally asked the question, none dared say aloud until now, if what we saw at Mars was only their defense fleet. Then what else have they built in the shadows? The elder's answer was soft, but it chilled them all. Pray we never find out. Across the stars, rumors spread. Traders whispered of humans who could erase ships with a thought. Soldiers told stories of Terran Marines who never missed a shot. Civilians in distant worlds began to look at Earth not with scorn, but with fear and a strange kind of respect. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was no longer the species to mock. They were the predators waiting in silence, and they had given their warning. Beyond Mars, no alien dared to cross again. On a dark station, hidden deep in the Kuiper Belt, a massive Terran warship stirred, larger than anything seen at Mars. Its engines rumbled to life, as if even Earth's defenders were not the full measure of humanity's power.